to the lab quickly. It's happening again. Very fast. Thank you for joining me.
But it's safety first.
You won't need that.
Okay.
Christ. Gentlemen, thank you for making it here on short notice. We have a lot to discuss. Obviously, VCT Pacific, it has not been what we expected whatsoever so far. But before we get a deep dive into all of that, I wanted to go ahead and consult somebody from the outside, get an expert opinion. So please, join me in welcoming xeta, somebody who's very familiar with this phenomenon.
I mean, an expert I can trust. I've always had full faith. I think he's gonna guide us on the right path.
First of all, thank you for having me. And I heard this is table of like getting hopium.
We have prepared today is to get your opinion and to match it with some experiments to really get the absolute conclusive data for stage 2.
Let's go. Nothing could go wrong.
There's been obviously a lot of craziness. Paperthin, it's just been everywhere, right? The results, I mean, the rosters, everything seemed new.
No, it was a really wild stage. I mean, it was really up and down for a lot of the teams. You know, there's been a lot of changes. Of course, you think about like Jing coming back and things like that. So it was a really fun stage to watch.
Paperthin, what was your like best highlight from the stage 1?
Actually, one of my favorite moments was DFM getting their first win. I know, I'm sorry, it was against.
It's too close to home.
Oh, man.
Truly, that was like a really special moment, I think, for the fans, you know, and for the team. You could see how much it meant to the players just for that one game, you know. So I was really excited about that.
But with that, I think this was kind of a stage of a lot of firsts, right? A lot of new records being set, a lot of things happening.
For better or worse.
For better or worse. 3 players from Gen G racking up 1,000 kills already in the VCT system, in VCT Pacific. Really just goes to show that a lot of these players obviously very individually skilled, but they're also just willing to grind through these games.
I think one of the craziest things for me was seeing that Texture got his, like, after the likes of Munchkin and whatnot. You know,
Yes.
managed to get to that milestone a little bit later, but then just decided to go a step beyond and said, okay, I've got my 1,000 kills. Now I'm gonna break the best of 5 kill record. You know, did it to do it in a loss.
It is important to remember that while we sent 3 teams to Shanghai already for Masters, Stage 1 doesn't quite end there. The legacy continues on because your record is going to carry over into Stage 2.
In Stage 2, you can just set your own destiny by getting into one of those top 3 spots to qualify for champions, but regardless, you're gonna wanna be accumulating those championship points kind of as a safety net just in case.
So xeta, if you were on one of these teams, what's your mindset looking forward to Stage 2, knowing that there's still a decent chance for you to make it all the way?
If I were those teams, like obviously current situation is like so competitive. So I would try just like my best to actually qualify for the champs. There's no need to overthink, and then you just like perform like how you did on the stage 1. That's all.
Teams that are going to be able to change to the new patches, to the new metas, that kind of thing, are going to succeed. How do we see that shaking out in Stage 2?
I think that we might just see the continued success of a lot of the teams that have been hovering near the top. Things like that are going to continue to reward you no matter what.
Flexibility is like really important nowadays, so this is really like interesting. Like every team need to like adapt on like current meta has changed.
Now it's time to put our theories to the test. We're going to come up with some hypotheses and test them and see how valid our theories are.
The first one is going to be about DFM. They looked really good in their win against T1. If they are just given this extra time until Stage 2, that they can now cook that up on different maps and maybe get their second win of VCT Pacific.
I was looking to them to see if I was going to be the only one agreeing with you.
Oh, okay.
Because I think that they certainly can get themselves a second win. I think everything that you laid out, perfectly correct.
We obviously know that they have like stand-up player like May. He's been really doing it great. As long as they just like find their own colors and the structures, they're gonna like win more games.
I'm not sure about the methodology of DFM post that win. I'm not so sure. I'm still very concerned that they haven't really found a way to be continuously adaptive and creative.
Mr. Science, he needs all more data.
Right.
He needs all the data 100%.
This is my chance. I can actually use my science degree now.
So after hearing a little bit more of your thoughts as well, I still cannot wipe that Ascent game out of my head. It was just so good. So I think there's enough, that's enough reason for me to believe that this is plausible.
I completely concur.
For me, sorry, needs more study.
xeta, what about you?
As you said, it's like obviously plausible.
Okay, now, one of the things that I need to get everybody's input on is, in regards to this certain little team right here, it's about the IGL swap on T1, something that we saw mid-season, Carpe, obviously, having begun since your departure in that offseason during the AVL, we get the change over here to Xcurate. Do we think that this was a viable change and something that they should continue with in the future in stage 2, or should they pivot back to Carpe?
It's more about the vibes. It's more about what he brings as this leadership presence. He's been a really positive force, I think, in that way.
But I think stylistically, Xcurate is just going to have a better grasp of the bigger picture stuff in Valorant. So I think, in theory, Xcurate kind of being the primary caller, leading the overall direction, I think that should be the better foundation for a longer run here for T1.
Yeah, I think that was like a good change. I can see it as a former IGL of T1. We have a lot of like vocal players, so I think Xcurate, obviously he has experience with like other FPS games, like he's been playing. So we can just like expect T1 gonna be like more improved.
Does that mean then that we can expect that T1 are going to have an even better result, or at least the same level of result in stage 2?
For me, I think it's plausible. I think there's definitely a lot of potential here on this team. It's just a matter of finding the consistency.
Yeah, it's plausible. I just feel that I've been burned so many times by this team.
It's plausible. We know that.
I think it is plausible that T1 will have a very similar performance in stage 2.
So one team that is making an interesting change coming into stage 2 is GE. They're going to be shifting their IGL, promoting Benkai. Where do we see this GE team going?
I would say Russ and then Lightning Fast. I think really great for both of those players because they were kind of players that wanted to reprove themselves to a certain extent. So to me, Russ getting to focus more on his fragging and his util setups, I think that's huge. And Benkai leading, I mean, it's been a little while since Benkai's really been the primary IGL, even in the old days of Paper X. But back when he did it, I think a lot of people had some faith.
It's the rest of the team that we need to see a little bit more from, I think. Because Blaze King, I think, was probably maybe the most hyped up signing coming into this one.
Yeah.
And we haven't really been seeing that same impact that we got from Blaze King previously when he was on Boom.
I think Polvi is another big question mark, though. I think sometimes he gets a little too aggressive with the operator in particular. Like, he tries to take these point-blank fights with the operator.
Think about that wallbang shot that he had on Stacks. Just the guy's mechanics are there. This guy can be that powerhouse. We just need to see that consistency here. We need to see the team setting up around him.
Only one thing I kind of like want to see from them is just like a pop-up thing. The end of the stage 1, the Polby was like fragging a lot and his performance was great. If they just like find out like how to utilize like Polby more, global esports is gonna be doing like better than before.
All right, so I'm really curious to get everyone's opinion. Global esports, a playoff team or not?
No.
Wow. It's not that I don't think that they will get stronger, but the competition stuff, there isn't enough time.
As you mentioned, I think it's too late. Even though we could see some kind of improvement, have no choice but to say just no.
I'm gonna go with yes, but only because of the group they're in.
Talking of teams that have made some changes, there's 2 big changes coming in. You've probably all heard of them. It's going to be Bleed and RRQ. Bleed, obviously, Crazy Guy's return.
It's curious to see, obviously, for Ye, we wish him all the best, but Crazy Guy stepping back in, is he coming back in to fully take up this IGL position? I assume this also means that we get to see Darion playing just basically duelist all the time.
I think for me, the ultimate thing about this is that this enables Scary. Didn't get to see it as much in stage 1 with him kind of taking over that IGL role, so we need to see more Scary. That guy is truly a phenomenal talent. He has that clutch gene.
I just want to see who's going to fill out those kind of like duelist gaps. So I'm kind of like doubting on how this team actually be functioning.
They are all pretty well known to play very slow and systematic. Whether it's good or bad, they have to stabilize. But it is a question mark. Therefore, do they get better?
I want to say yes. I think that overall, the changes that are happening here, I think they have a lot of promise behind them. I'm going to be waiting for more data because I think that there's nowhere to go but up.
Yeah, I'm also in the needs more data category, but slightly leaning into plausible that they're going to be a little bit better because of the quality of the teams they're going to be going up against and the fact that, you know, there is a bit of a short turnaround time here.
So I think it's still tough for them, like what is the actual like ideal structure for them. So I would just say I actually need to see more data.
I would almost say maybe even slightly not plausible just because, again, it's just stage 2 that they have left here in 2024. So I don't know if that's going to be enough time.
Well, you already picked him up earlier, but I won't give you the pleasure of kicking things off.
Okay.
RRQ also making a big change. Their IGL Flipshider stepping away from the team is now departed. Big question is, A, IGLing structure. How is this going to look? We anticipate that that's going to be Estrella, who does have some experience doing IGLing, but also I think the bigger question is, does Monyet play controller? Not you. Go ahead.
I think he probably does. I think that's probably a natural fit for him with this squad. They already have a very talented duelist who can play Raze, so Jemkin has been insane. Last year when he was with GE, that seems to be the role that he also excels the most in, seems the most comfortable. Yeah, I hope he does, let's put it that way.
Yeah, I think the Jemkin is silence killer.
Literally he's
He
silent.
seems like really quiet, but he's like demolishing everyone, right? Also, I think the other players like Xpero and then Elmamore, they have a like experience playing a dedicated initiator and then also Sentinels. I think they have a lot of like great potential.
I think one of the other things that this could open up for the team is if you wanted to go for double duelist structure as well, because Monyet's shown that he can operate in that, so you could have him still go over, play the Raze, have Jemkin on that jet for maps like Split and whatnot. So I think that this also gives them potentially a bit more set up for aggressive compositions.
The biggest question is as you posed, what's the calling going to look like? We saw a glimpse of it at the very last match against Gen G, and Estrella's calling looked pretty good. He identified the weaknesses that Gen G had, but can he do that against all the teams, especially in their group? Now, the likes of DRX and PaperX, that's gonna be the big challenge.
All right, so the big question here is now the time, with Monyet joining, for them to make a playoff.
They are really hungry, I can see.
Yeah.
It's time.
I think it should be plausible. I mean, with Monyet coming in there, everything inside of me wants that to be successful.
I'm gonna go with a plausible. The time has now come that they are going to be a lock for those Stage 2 playoffs.
I need a little bit more data to really find out how far they can go.
There you go.
But I'm glad you all believe in them, because I think they look great.
All right, so I'd like to talk about some of our teams that are, in my mind, in a bit of a quantum state. Like, are they going to do well, maybe not next stage? So it's kind of the unknown until we observe it. We don't know exactly how they're going to perform. So the first one I want to talk about is Xeta Division. Are they going to make playoffs in Stage 2?
Wow. That's, we're both...
Heavy-handed presentation.
Listen, let's discuss the team first. I thought they looked pretty promising in the offseason. Both Yuran and Huron looked like they were able to hit some very sharp shots. That should alleviate the pressure from the likes of Depp and Laz as well.
I think that just overall Xeta has collectively looked a bit disjointed. I'm not certain if things are going to be able to come together fast enough.
I liked some of the things I saw from Xeta Division. I liked the Phoenix comp on Sunset initially. I thought this was a brilliant idea. However, it got figured out pretty quickly. Yes, we saw some innovation, but it didn't have longevity behind it.
I think Xeta is like right now struggling with about finding their agent comfort zone. Once Xeta fix those kind of like problems within the team, I think they're gonna perform well.
I actually don't think it's plausible. Give it time. I would love to see them give it time and grow this roster into a comfort zone.
I'm right there with you. Ultimately, I think that seeing this team make it to playoffs, from what we have seen, it just does not seem plausible at all. I think it is fairly conclusive that this is just not going to happen.
I think for me, it needs more data. I don't consider it unlikely. I consider it fairly possible with how up and down everything has been this year.
I think Xeta needs to be more studied.
So we're a little split between needing more data, yeah. But I think we all agree that we would like to see this continue, even if it takes a little longer. So hopefully we see the bright spot at the end of the tunnel. All right, so you mentioned earlier, Paperthin, we've got a couple teams that are, what is it? Quantum State here in Pacific. Another one that's always been like that for me is going to be Team Secret.
Every single time I have believed in them when it looks like they are hitting their peak, they're going to be able to just be world beaters. And I just don't know what to think anymore when it comes down to Secret. I can't believe anymore. All faith that I have had is exhausted.
There needs to be a little bit of change into this team coming into Stage 2. Obviously, Envy, always very consistent. Jeremy had some really great games again this season, but he also had some that were a little bit shakier. So definitely another one of those teams that's looking for consistency. Not just show us that they can beat Paper Rexes, but they can beat, like you said, Gen G's, other teams in our league.
They were really good at the discipline and the fundamentals, but they couldn't keep it somehow, is what I saw. So as long as they can find or figure out how to fix it, we can finally see the Secret on the international stage again.
Jeremy, one of the biggest questions we had about him coming into just even kickoff, etc., was how is he going to op? You know, what is that situation going to look like? He's improved his opping. That's gotten better.
I think my conclusion is the reason that they're always right there, right at the gates of making greatness, is that they're really good at punishing unforced errors, right? I really like to look at the game as forced errors versus unforced errors. And is it going to be enough for them to make it to champions? I'm gonna say not plausible.
The bigger question is can they kind of overcome these obstacles that have kept them from making the international events?
I am not convinced that it would happen consistently.
Yeah, I think that the inconsistency has been so consistent that I have to say no.
As long as they can convert inconsistency to consistency,
I like it.
I think it's possible.
Okay. Yeah. I think our conclusion about Team Secret is as inconsistent as their performance so far in 2024, so we'll have to wait and see.
Yep.
Right, so we're gonna talk about my former players, Seungmin. Oh, Ben.
I think that overall talent, they're in a really good place at the moment. A fairly steady upward trajectory for talent throughout the year.
I've been really impressed with the way that Frost is able to lead these guys, get them play more as a team. You know, putting Cruz on the IGL again has been a huge boon, I think.
And then on top of that, Surf returns, and I love the fact that Governor, he's willing to kind of be that sacrificial lamb. The only question is he cooking too fast? I think that might be what's catching up to them. Too many ideas.
Surf guy is like a menace, as you said. Once they find like the right day, no one can like stop them.
We haven't mentioned perhaps the strongest player on this squad, which is Jit Boys.
But we've seen this time and time again that one incredible player doesn't always get you over the line. All those things put together for me make it incredible. I think really this is a plausible.
Plausible?
Okay.
But I need to just like do more study.
If we loaned Talon our cloning machine that we have in this laboratory, and they cloned Jit Boys 4 times, first place, easy.
But I'm even gonna say that I think the data shows that it's plausible.
I'm gonna say it's not gonna happen.
So if Talon's not making it, who's taking that 4th spot?
I think overall, considering the changes that have happened on the team, yes, now have a very tough opponent in Gen G, where previously it was like, okay, well, we only have to worry about Paper X. But I think that we have seen a decent amount of growth from the squad, and I think that surely DRX cannot miss another event, especially when it's happening in their home country.
Their finish was better than I expected. But how much reworking do you have to do? I need a bit more data. I need stage 2 to happen for me to have any conclusion.
The fact that when they got to the playoffs, they get to Gen G, it is the case that sometimes it seems like they just mentally can't quite recover from some of their bad games or bad maps. I'm concerned when they get to that next level.
I feel like they need more time. Obviously, Foxy9 was been like changing a lot of his like agent pool. Bane performing really well. So they have all elements to be a greatest team in the Pacific like one more time. I just want to see that how they play in the stage 2 more.
Will they find stability when it matters most? That question, I think, makes it even less plausible in my opinion. I would say I would side with not plausible, not at least this year.
I'd say plausible, but needs more data ultimately. They're watching the other 2 Korean teams go to these events now, go to Masters Shanghai now with T1 and Gen G. I think that this is going to be DRX more motivated than ever.
So I think it's pretty plausible that they're going to find consistency. I think that one off day for Mako and Buzz is probably an aberration in the data, nothing consistent. Foxy9 is looking great on the Sentinels.
I think their communication is like all connected, and then like their strategy is like players on like a comfort zone. I want to see the more data.
Can they overcome this new unstoppable force of Gen G?
We've saved the best for last. Our new budding rivalry. Is this rivalry going to continue? Is it just going to be another PRX Gen G Grand Finals in Stage 2? What are our thoughts?
If you look at Gen G in a vacuum, looks like a very successful experiment. But I don't know if they can quite call themselves challengers to Paper X just yet, because we saw the true form of Paper X towards the end of Stage 1.
Gen G have just fully taken over DRX's position. Not only are they the #1 Korean squad that we've had, they've also stolen away the Paper X rivalry.
You have Paper X, who's they're just always good. Gen G, on the other hand, my concern with them, they're an exothermic reaction, meaning that they're expending a lot of energy really fast.
They what?
I told you this was my day to shine. Leave me alone. My concern is that they burn out. Is that going to be a sustainable thing? You know, they may have burned too bright too quick.
You say it's burnout, but I would say he's still hungry. He just need a trophy. Okay. Their one problem with the PRX was when they are just like only one away from getting trophies, they always got struggle with some kind of like winning like transitioning. But I think as long as Alex table is okay, then they can be finally like a champion.
Gen G has proven that they will always have the core thing to counter PaperX, which is the determination, focus, and aim to trade, to out-trade them when it matters. This could always go back and forth.
Yeah, I think that we might have a new Pacific El Clasico. It's like they're going to be fated to clash over and over again.
So obviously we talked about kind of the rivalry relationship, but let's talk about PaperX then in a vacuum, and seeming to have kind of rediscovered their stride, so to speak.
Yeah, I think it didn't take very long, but for the most part, it just felt like this team was right back to it pretty much instantly.
Individually, all 5 players are off the charts. It's just a matter of them being able to stay consistent with their forward thinking, in my book. So I have 0 doubts about PaperX right now.
Yeah, same. Like I have 0 doubt on the PRX as well. Also, Jing's return is like most soft-landed things I've ever seen.
They would still talk about, oh, well, you know, it's taking a little bit of time and Jing's trying to regain, you know, his focus and his posture within the pro scene. And we're all thinking like, really? Because it looks just like it did last year. They finally changed Lotus Comp. The fact that, okay, that mindset is still there, that we need to innovate. It's not just aim that we're relying on. They prove it once again year after year. I think they're destined to continue to stay at the top. Let's just do a quick question then. Will PaperX be the Stage 2 champions?
I think it's obviously plausible.
I think they can still like a dominant team on the stage too.
I think it's highly probable, but I'll temper and I will say I need more data.
I like what you're thinking, because I think we need more data as well. I think the thing that really lingers on our mind is this rivalry with Gen G.
So we're gonna play a games. Each paper has each role. So we have to pull out each paper, and then we need to build a dream team. We need to build a team with we expecting like best performers.
Okay, so we'll see who actually built the best dream team.
Guess first.
Okay.
Oh, sure.
Okay.
What have we got?
Oh, I wanted that.
Wow.
That's such a good one.
Right off the bat, flex.
I will take Invi.
Invi.
I cannot still forget he dropped 40 against the Gen G.
I actually want to go with Bane from DRX. Oh! I loved the way he was playing this year. Really think he's very impactful in so many different ways. I'm all in on this guy.
Okay. I mean, I think overall, solid pickup, but both of you are crazy. I'm picking Forsaken. Thank you.
I'm saving my PaperX pick for later.
I think that Forsaken he enables most of these compositions. I mean, the 13-0 doesn't happen without that man on Breach.
Then I'm gonna go with Divine. I honestly think he still is a bit underrated.
Solid.
And he's played more agents even in the past, not just the stage.
Ah.
In your own time.
Controller.
I'm gonna go with Monyet. When he's been on controller in the past, he's been absolutely insane. I think he is going to just absolutely feast with RRQ.
I'm going to take Mako. I think that he did have his dips, which were very strange to see in stage 1. That group stage, it was all Mako. I think that we're going to be seeing that again from him in stage 2.
I'm kind of torn between a couple players, but I'm gonna go with Izu. When he's given that freedom, he has a little bit of mobility, he has some util to play off of, he plays very crafty, and I have a lot of hope for him to continue to rise up and reach the unforeseen potential so far.
Me, I think choose Caroline.
Yeah.
Mix him up a little bit. You know,
I know what you're trying to go for.
Duelist. Okay. God, who do I texture?
I was okay. Jemkin.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
there you go. There's my RQ pick.
Oh my god. I will pick Jing.
Dang it.
Since it's like top performers.
Xeta's going for all the fraggers right now.
You have to remember this is Dream Team.
Yes.
Only stats matters on this team.
That's true. Since stats are the only thing that matter, our last year's top performer in the duelist role, take a depth. My boy, I love depth, still very good. I think the Phoenix looked a little rocky for him. Other than that, he's been kind of widely the same depth that we've come to know and love. His jet in particular is absolutely astounding.
All right, here we go. I'm not gonna say.
Nail the coin flip?
All right, for initiator, I'm going to go with Russ.
Oh, okay.
He's been fragging.
Yeah.
I know. I think he's going to continue to have a better stage 2. That's my initiator.
I would pick Carfe because he been top fragging, right? Obviously, he's been top fragging.
Yes.
Like
Yeah.
now.
I think I'm going to go with Zest. I think Zest has looked really good. It seems like they understand his strengths and weaknesses as far as they can push it currently with Bleed. I think they've done a good job. Obviously, the guy's nuts on Sova. I'm a big fan of Zest overall.
Oh God, I think I'm gonna have to dip into the RQ pool here. I think I'm gonna go for Elmimore. I think that it was a little bit of an interesting start, both he and Xpharaoh changing up their roles, but the fact that that was very much player driven, that they wanted to go for that change, and then I got to see that, that role swap very much develop in real time. I think that Elmimore got to a very solid spot playing that initiator role.
Well, we have one vial left. I say we give it over to our expert to choose first once again.
I wonder what it is.
So yeah.
All right, Sentinel.
I would pick Foxy9
Yep.
because I didn't pick any DLX players.
I'm going to go with Meteor. I've always believed that he's kind of the real core here. As much as Texture is a star player, he enables so much, and he's a great fragger as well. His transition to the Sentinel has been absolutely successful.
For Sentinel, I mean, he has flexed around a little bit and played things like the Astra and whatnot, but we have also been seeing a lot of Sentinel from him. He's been playing the Chamber for this team, and he has had an immense amount of impact. Not only that, but also was the IGL, so I think also good for comm structure for my squad, so I'm gonna go for Excurant.
I was very high on this team earlier, so I think I'm going to stick with Talon and go with Surf. He's a breath of fresh air for this team. He seems to bring good vibes too. Really like this player. Really like Talon's chances going into stage 2.
Well, I think Xeta's team is going to put up numbers, no matter the result.
I got Texture, like the guy who put up the biggest number. Like, come on.
Doesn't matter. We are Double W Gaming.
Double W.
Yes.
Okay, well, with all of our experiments and games, I think one thing is for certain. VCT Pacific continues to be an absolute chaos.
I wouldn't have it any other way. I love chaos. I feel like every time I walk into a match, I don't know who's going to win for sure. I don't feel confident in any of my predictions, and I love it.
Yes, the beauty of chaos, like bring us the content. That's all matters. I love it.
Just sit back and be an observer.
Yes.
It's just been fantastic so far this year. I mean, we're getting towards the end, which is sad, but my God, I'm going to revel and bask in the rest of this season.
Obviously, chaos is something we're going to look forward to in stage 2, hopefully more than stage 1 as well. We might as well just double down onto this with all these teams, all these experiments going on. But of course, all of this is going to happen at VCT Pacific Stage 2, which starts on June 15th.
Gentlemen, I think it's time to share our findings with the world.